For centuries, the world has been told that civilization began in the West, that knowledge was born in Greece, and education was perfected in Europe. But beneath the sands of Africa, long before the first stone of Oxford was laid, stood centers of learning so vast, so advanced, that even time itself seemed to whisper their names. This is the story of that Africa, the Africa before the slave trade, the world Africa built, before it was rewritten, long before ships crossed the Atlantic, before European explorers claimed to have discovered the world. Africa already had maps, and mathematicians who drew them. In the heart of the Sahara, caravans stretched across golden sands, their routes mapped by scholars and merchants, carrying gold, salt, ivory, and ideas. From the city of Gao to the gates of Cairo, Africa was alive, connected by trade, by faith, and by knowledge. The Niger River shimmered like a silver ribbon, linking kingdoms that traded books as eagerly as they traded gold. And in the city of Timbuktu, under the burning sun of Mali, stood the Sankore University, a sanctuary of learning, where scholars debated the stars, medicine, and philosophy. It was said that a single library in Timbuktu held more books than all of medieval Europe combined. To the west stood Mali, a kingdom so rich in gold that its ruler Mansa Musa became legend. When Musa embarked on his pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324, he carried an army of servants, courtiers, and gold. So much gold that when he spent it in Cairo, the value of gold collapsed for over a decade. But his wealth was not his greatest treasure. It was his vision to make Mali a beacon of learning. He built mosques and universities, invited scholars from across Africa and Arabia, and transformed Timbuktu into the intellectual capital of the world. Farther east, the kingdom of Kush had long thrived beside the Nile. Its queens, the Kandiks, ruled with wisdom and strength. They built cities of stone and pyramids that still rise proudly beside Egypt's. And then there was Great Zimbabwe, a marvel of architecture and mystery, a city built of granite, without mortar, its walls standing strong for over 700 years. European explorers refused to believe Africans built it, but the stones themselves tell a different story. Africa's legacy wasn't only gold and power, it was knowledge. In the manuscripts of Timbuktu, you find writings on astronomy, law, medicine, and even poetry. Scholars studied the movement of stars and recorded lunar calendars centuries before Galileo. In ancient Nubia, scientists practiced advanced metallurgy, smelting iron and bronze with precision. In Carthage and Axum, mathematicians measured time and mapped the heavens. And across the continent, from Ife to Egypt, artists sculpted faces so detailed that modern archaeologists marvel at their realism. These were not primitive societies. They were the blueprint of civilization itself. Long before the slave ships, the world already knew Africa. Arab traders crossed the Sahara for centuries, exchanging salt for gold and knowledge for wisdom. Chinese merchants, sailing from the Ming Dynasty, recorded tales of East African ports filled with spices, ivory, and fine fabrics. And on the Swahili coast, cities like Kilwa and Mombasa glowed under the sun, cosmopolitan hubs where Africans, Arabs, Indians, and Persians lived side by side. When Europeans finally arrived, they did not find an empty continent. They found cities, universities, roads, and empires. But instead of admiration, they saw opportunity. It began with the missionaries, then the traders, Then the armies. At first they came seeking trade. Then they sought power. And when power was not enough, they sought to rewrite the story. They reduced empires to tribes. Kings became chiefs. Civilizations became villages. They erased the libraries and burned the manuscripts. They redrew the maps, placing Africa below the world, a symbolic gesture of inferiority. To justify the slave trade, they needed the world to believe Africa had no history. And so, they silenced it. But history is a stubborn flame. Even when buried, it still burns. Archaeologists uncovered the ruins of Great Zimbabwe. Historians rediscovered the manuscripts of Timbuktu. And DNA traced the roots of civilizations back to African soil. Today, that truth is rising again. Not from the libraries of Europe, but from the voices of Africans themselves. Voices that say, "We were never lost. We were silenced. And now, we speak again." The empires may have fallen, but their spirit endures. In every drumbeat that echoes through the continent, in every proverb that carries ancient wisdom, in every young African child learning their true history, the legacy lives. Africa is not a land waiting to be developed. It is a land that once developed the world. From mathematics to medicine, architecture to astronomy, Africa's fingerprints are found across humanity's blueprint. And when you look beyond the scars of slavery, you find something unbreakable, a civilization that refuses to be forgotten. Today, a new generation is reclaiming that history. Filmmakers, teachers, historians, voices rising from Lagos to Johannesburg, from Accra to Addis Ababa, each voice restoring what was lost. Because Africa's story did not begin with slavery. It began with greatness, with gold, with knowledge, with light. And no matter how long the world tries to bury it, the truth always finds a way to rise. This is DARKTV Chronicles, where Africa tells its own story. Because the story of Africa is not one of chains, but of crowns. If you believe the world deserves to hear Africa's truth, like, share, and subscribe.